Hello, so my name is Holly. I'm from the Muskegon campus. I'm doing my presentation on profanity in our language and culture. I chose this topic just because I swear a lot, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to research because I've never really thought too much about it. Another reason why I chose it is because my mom hates that I swear. She tells me all the time that it's unladylike and that I shouldn't do it, especially because I'm a teacher and I work with children. But I realize that most people swear, and now I have some proof to come back at my mom. So, in the directions for this assignment, there was a article that was suggested to read, and it was an article that the New York Times wrote. It was a book review on two different books. The first book was What the F? What Swearing Reveals About Our Language, Our Brains, and Ourselves. It was written by Benjamin K. Bergen. And the second one was In Praise of Profanity by Michael Adams. I didn't find too much to prove my point from the Michael Adams book. He was is, I should say, a historical linguist. And Benjamin Bergen is a cognitive scientist who studies language. Most of my research is going to be from his book. The book review, I guess, more or less, that the New York Times wrote on it, at least. Did not read the actual book. But the article was interesting because it starts off with the New York Times person kind of introducing what it's going to be about. And they pose the question of, if you catch like a child swearing, how do you react? And so I know like a ton of people flat out know how I handle it at school and how I handle it at home is different. In the classroom, we don't talk like that here. We don't talk like that here, basically, is what it goes down to. Those are hurtful words. We don't say those here, or, things of that nature. At home, because I do swear on my kids, so I can't say that to my kids and they hear it all day. And that's kind of what this is getting at. So what I tell my children is, these are words that adults can say. And then I give them different ways to say it. Now, I say the F word all the time. I'm not going to cuss on here because I don't know if we're allowed to. But I say the F word all the time. So, trying to think of an example. But I can't on spot. I cannot think of an example. But if my kids want to say something as to the effect of the F word, I will give them other vocabulary to get their point across, is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, it's just interesting because how do we tell kids? We teach them and kind of like make them think that these are like forbidden words, but yet everybody's saying them. So that's kind of confusing and conflicting to them. So just be mindful of that, I would say, especially because I do teach early childhood. I can't swear there. Like, that's unacceptable. It's unprofessional. But in my home life, I kind of agree with what Bergen came up with. So as I said before, he's a cognitive scientist who studies language. He argues the fact that even though the American Academy of Pediatrics claims that exposure to profanity harms children, he says there's really no evidence of that. He says that there are better ways to deal with profanity than to suppress it, which I agree also. That's a lot of the times why I might mumble a cuss word or something, so I don't, I might just mumble under my breath like, what the F, instead of making a rude comment to somebody. Sometimes those are just like my suppressants, but I'm still getting the emotion out. So instead of taking it on somebody, I'm just using profanity. But he did, and this is kind of where it draws the line, and this can be conflicting also when you're trying to, what do I agree with? Because he does make the point that, yes, profanity, if it's used in slurs or harmful or hurtful ways, there is negative side effects to that. But just cussing in itself, there's no negative side effects. And if a kid just hears a mom say, what the F, or, you know, son of a bee, things like that, I mean, there's not really going to be any negative side effects unless it's continuously, repeatedly aimed at them. If it's directed at them. Then there's evidence. That's trauma and abuse, you know? And then we're going into something different. But just the actual act of profanity, it has no effects. And it was also interesting, there was a study, and I can protest to this because I like to work out. So when I'm trying to, especially when I'm trying to do like cardio and core things, I will cuss a lot, especially like doing planks and things like that. Or trying to finish a 5K or things like that. I kind of like cuss under my breath and mumble and do things like that. Or at the end I'll say, oh, F, like, you know. And I don't know, that's just me. But this study is interesting to me that they found. So what it had said, that Bergen found this study that if people put their hands under cold water, like ice cold water, if they're shouting profanities while they're holding their hand under the water, they can withstand that temperature longer. They'll be able to hold it there longer if they shout profanities. And that to me is powerful. The things that Michael Adams, I guess that one kind of ties in with him. Like I said, he is a historical linguist, but his book, what it sounded like, was more like profanity being an art. He compared it to like how many times it's in TV shows. We have them displayed in public bathrooms, etched on the walls. They're in songs, euphemism, comedies, things like that. And it's an art form, which I tend to agree in a way. Some entertainment is just funnier with profanity, or it's more relatable because it's things that we do so that we don't have to suppress things. So I feel like Bergen was right when he said there's better ways to deal with profanity than to suppress it. Just, you know, and I went to a training one time, and I've never done this in a classroom, but I went there and, you know, tell a kid, take them to a private place and tell them to get all their cuss words out. Just get it out, because it's just a word at the end of the day. You know, it's just a word. Thank you.